All right, are we ready to get started for the main event?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm excited to have Manesh here tonight. Do you guys recognize this fellow? We don't get to see him nearly as much as we like to because we have all of his boys are always here with us. But this is the man himself. Manesh has been with Network Realty since, I believe, 2003 when he graduated, early 2004, and moved to Atlanta in approximately 2010, 2011. March 1st, 2011. We started Atlanta REIA in June of 2010. Yeah. And so he's been with us since the very beginning of his organization and ours here in Atlanta. We really, really appreciate it. And these guys have been finding our members and our friends deals for years to fix and flip. Because a lot of our members don't have time to go out and chase down the deals themselves. So Network Realty is a brokerage, but also a wholesaler, and they wholesale deals. And tonight's conversation is going to be about dealing with wholesalers. You might not have been here earlier when I started kind of introducing the topic. I think you were walking in about that time, about how we constantly hear the story that, man, all these wholesaler deals out there suck. Why do all these deals suck? Why can't we find good deals? Well, the short answer is the good deals go fast. They go real fast. The ones that are hanging around may be marginal. But how do you know you're dealing with a reputable wholesaler? How do you know if you're getting a good deal? How do you know when you look at a deal, is this a deal for a beginner? Or is this a deal for a more seasoned investor who can do a better job and get costs lower and things like that? How do you know where you fit in when you're looking at deals? How do you know who you're dealing with when you're dealing with a wholesaler? Are you dealing with a wholesaler that's somewhere in the middle of the daisy chain? Are you dealing with the guy that's got the contract? Are you dealing with the guy that actually owns the house? So he's been doing this for a really long time, has years of experience dealing with other investors. So I asked him here tonight to kind of come share some of his insider perspective on dealing with wholesalers, since he is one and he deals with them every day. So let's give it up for Manesh Hardeo for being here tonight. We appreciate it, man. Thank you so much, man. Welcome back.
Thank you. How's everybody doing tonight? Good. So I wanted to find out, what's the crowd like here? How many investors do we have that are actively investing? Obviously, I see Russ, I see Ron back there, Roger, see many of you full-time guys. What about wholesalers? How many wholesalers do we have currently? Just a couple. Okay, the rest of you, what are we looking to do? Get started wholesaling, investing, what are we looking for? Wholesaling. Okay, so is that the bulk of us wanted to learn?
Who wants to fix and flip? That's the other half.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm not married to what we have set up tonight. If you guys have questions, ask away. Like Dustin said, been in the game for 14 years now. So you can imagine my picture that you saw earlier doesn't look like this right now, right?
You almost didn't recognize you.
So let's get started. Wholesalers. Who are wholesalers? Why do they want to wholesale? What's the advantages? What are the cons? Why should you wholesale? Why shouldn't you wholesale? A wholesaler is anybody. Anybody that really wants to get started in real estate investing. Anyone can pick up a book. Anyone can attend a class. There's many coaches in here. Don DeRosa, I know Ron back there, you do some classes as well. Blankenship, all you guys have classes. There's a lot of options out here to go figure out how to get started in wholesaling. There's no barrier for entry into wholesaling. That's the good, and it's also going to be the bad about what we talk about, right? So just keep that in mind. I'll tell you guys a short story because today was very interesting. It's not the way I wanted to start it Monday off, but we have a property that we bought, a couple weeks ago, and it was in East Point. How many of you guys are familiar with dealing with East Point? How many people love it? You like it? You must be lying. Come on.
He's part of that mafia you talked about.
That's right. I felt like I was getting shipped down with the mafia over there today. But anyway, I was there for 5 hours, and I was sitting next to a wholesaler. And so we got to talking, for 5 hours about, how you got started, what are you doing, what's working, what's not working. And he throws it out there, I'm wholesaling, and this guy seemed really intelligent, so I was like, this kind of came out of a shot out of the dark. He's like, yeah, I served federal prison for 2 years. I was like, okay, not bad. I won't ask too many more questions after that, but just to prove a point, there's no barrier for entry. Anybody can do this. It's good, and it can be the bad. Beginners can be investors, wholesalers, full-timers can be wholesalers, investors that we buy from that get excess deals can wholesale. A lot of times people say, I want to wholesale because, we'll get to this, it takes no money. Honestly, in my opinion, wholesaling takes every bit as amount of effort, and maybe not as much money up front, but it takes money, it takes time, and it takes effort. Right, so we'll get into a bit of that. Wholesalers, thank you. Dealing with wholesalers, it's, I think, all of us that have been in the game for some time now are kind of, it's almost reached an epidemic level of just crazy. You agree? Anybody else, full-timers, you agree? It's just, it's crazy out there. You don't know who has what deal under control. They tell you one thing and the opposite happens. I can tell you, and my team can tell you, we've probably lost 10 to 12 deals in the past 4 months from wholesalers. It's frustrating. I mean, what do you do when you put all that time and effort? You have it lined up, you have a buyer in place, you paid for the appraisal, you've gotten everything done, and then kaput, it falls apart. What happens? So, anybody have any questions about any experiences they'd like to share about similar scenarios? No? Anybody? Go ahead, Rick.
What do you do when you get multiple wholesalers on a deal?
Man, that's a great question. So it's like they're trying to uncover a mystery. So it's a story. Every deal has a story. When you're going to acquire the deal, it has a story. What's the seller's scenario? How much do they owe? Are they going through a divorce? It's almost the same thing you're dealing with wholesalers, really. When you have to ask them questions, and very direct questions. Do you have this on a contract? Okay, can you provide proof of that contract? Don't be afraid to ask. I mean, if they have it under contract, it shouldn't be a big deal. Hey, what law firm do you have that title open with? Do you mind if I make a call to that attorney? These are all things you can ask. Mm-hmm. Run.
Can you repeat that?
She said to run.
Run!
Run as fast as you can. I think our team says the same thing. Oh man, here comes another, disaster. Let's just run. Yes, ma'am. With the seller? To a real buyer. Mm-hmm. So Barry, which Dustin warned me about before I came here, the resident heckler.
Oh, that would be Barry.
That would be Barry. Where's Barry at?
He's here.
He's there somewhere. So we were talking. He's like, you guys are good. I see all your guys, but the problem I have is that we have to come to your office. And we get that. We get that a lot. Why do we have to come to your office? And why do you have to waste time? Well, if somebody tells me, if Ron says, hey, you need to come to my office, sit down in order to buy these deals, and all of us want deals right now, right? Everybody in this room wants deals. What am I going to do? We're going to want good deals. I'm going to get my ass up and get to his office as quick as I can, right? I don't think there's any harm in asking those buyers, come prove yourself. Let's come over and sit down at Starbucks. Show me your proof of funds. Let me see that bank statement. Let me speak to that lender. Let me know that they're legitimate. You have to ask of it, because if you don't, you're going to get caught. And it's just part of the game. There are some really good wholesalers out there that will trick the crap out of you. But most of the time, those guys know what they're doing too, and you can also close, right? So anyway, to get back to the point, just be careful. You have to ask direct questions. Get them to give you some evidence and proof that they have these deals. And then in the end, if it's just not worth the time, just move on to the next one. Yes, sir.
What danger is waiting for you if you deal with a shaky wholesaler?
Say it again.
What danger is waiting for you to deal with
What danger is waiting for you if you're dealing with a shaky wholesaler?
Shady wholesale.
Shady wholesaler. Well, okay, I'll tell you, for example, that I've got a guy that bought a home, and we personally experienced this. We bought a deal from a wholesaler. They wanted to use their attorney, and we sold it to our buyer. Everything was great. Everybody got paid, moved on, helped set them up with the contractor. Demo started. What are you doing? Why are you demoing this house? It was the son of the actual seller. So, needless to say, thank God it was at the demo part of this and not further along the line, otherwise it would have been a much bigger issue. They had to go back and file a title claim against that attorney. The attorney, the seller was in the state of Georgia. As many of you know, if you are closing a transaction in the state of Georgia, you have to have a closing attorney handle that transaction. This guy emailed documents out, had this guy notarize documents by a fraudulent notary. 30 grand the guy ran off with. So that can be a big problem, because if you sold that deal to somebody else and you were dealing with a shady wholesaler, it can cause you problems. They're going to come back, they may want to sue you. I had to wait a while to figure out if I was going to get sued, so in order I can sue him. In the end, we had the same title underwriters, so they were able to bypass us, luckily. But yeah, you have to be careful, especially if you're pitting up money for appraisals. I can't tell you, I mean, how much in appraisals have I paid for guys that we just lost, you know, and there's nothing you can do. I mean, it happens. So again, to go back to the point, ask very direct questions with the wholesalers. I don't think it's unfair. If somebody asked for a copy of the contract, said, hey, white out the contract price if that's what you're worried about. You don't want them to know how much you're making, but hey, here's the contract without the price. You can see the close date. You can see the earnest money amount, who's with. Call the attorney, verify the earnest money is there. I think that's important to do. It'll help protect you. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Everybody else? Okay. How do we know if they're lying? Yeah, I mean, ask for the contracts. What can we do to send them the offers and hope they can work backwards with the seller? This is a good way to work with wholesalers. I like to think of wholesalers as not just bringing me a deal, but they're lead generators, because we have to help these folks as well. They haven't had the years of experience we've had. They don't know how to comp the houses. They don't have the tools to comp them. Why don't we say, okay, you brought the deal to me. I appreciate that and that alone, because I'll tell you why. There's somewhere around here. I'm not going to really pay much attention to this. Virtual wholesaling. How many people have heard of this? Holy cow! What is virtual wholesaling? Can somebody tell me? Somebody wants to sit on their ass, take somebody else's deal, mark it up, and go hand it out with zero research, right?
I refer to that as co-wholesaling.
Or that too.
Virtual wholesaling, I refer to it as when they're wholesaling the property, sight unseen,
Sight unseen.
often in another state or way out of town.
That makes sense. Either way, there's not any research done on these things, right? So it's just, if somebody's actually bringing me a lead that they organically found themselves, man, hey, I'm going to do everything I can do if it's a deal, right? If it may not be a deal at the price that they're asking, right? But it's a deal. We know this house is distressed, right? We know this house has value. Why don't we say, hey, I can pay this. Let's go back and work with the seller. This is what you need to say. This is what you need to tell them. And let's go aggressive. We can go back and buy this house, but we'll buy it at this price. Instead of just saying, man, I can't buy it. You send them the offer and then just leave it alone, and what happens? Nothing happens. The wholesaler loses the deal. You lose an opportunity to create a relationship with this individual, and nothing happens. It doesn't help anybody. You know? So I think if you find somebody that organically brings you a deal, that's the person that you want to help, right? If it's somebody just consistently, you tell them, hey, don't send me other people's deals. You can imagine how many lists I'm on. I see dang near everything, and it's hard to say that, but a lot. And I tell them, hey, I'm on my list. Don't, you know, and they consistently send you somebody else's deal. Okay, this guy, he or she is just lazy. Okay, let's move on to somebody else, right? But I think there's good people we can help and help work backwards and see if we can make deals happen. I wanted to go back a little bit about wholesaling, and I've been with this company before we were Network Realty, and I see some new Western guys in here. They may not even know it. We were all part of the same scene at one point in time. You guys remember RealNet, right?
I heard that.
You remember RealNet? I'm not going to say the story here. If anybody of you guys want to know the story, I'll be happy to tell you the story somewhere down below. But a lot of the wholesalers are newbies, and when the market crashed, I think it caused, there's a lot of people that had a lot of positive cash flow coming in, full-time investors, and obviously money was a problem, right? People didn't have access to money, banks shut it down. So I think there started to be a need for income for these full-time individuals. Everyone started becoming a guru, and everyone wanted to teach people how to buy money with zero money, right? So you started seeing a plethora of this, and it took off. And people that wanted to, learn real estate investing when the market was bad, and they were kind of ahead of the curve would get into it. As the market has improved, obviously, I think the populace out there that's not in real estate every day, I think they're a year or two typically behind. They're, when the bottom hit was probably, I don't know, early 2012 or somewhere in that range. Then you started seeing in 14, the real estate market, I want to buy at the bottom of the market. You kind of missed it. But, they're always lagging a bit behind. Now let's accelerate to where we are today, and the market is pretty hot, right? We're back to almost to the numbers of what we saw in like 2006 again. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure our prices are back to that point, if not even exceeding those now. So we're seeing a very large influx of people that want to get into that, get a piece of that by wholesaling. I will tell you, I run an organization that wholesales. You see these. It's not easy either, okay? It's a difficult business. I almost venture to say it's easier to find a money partner and be a field person to go and fix and flip houses than it is to go out and go out and wholesale. There's just so much competition. So much competition and a lot less knowledge being taught than should be, and a lot less tools. You agree with that? So, what are some of the problems with the wholesalers that, for one, who's teaching them? There's a lot of, I'm not calling anybody out, I'm just saying my observation is purely opinion. There's a lot of people that want to teach this stuff, and then they teach it, and then, okay, you gotta buy the next class. I'm sorry, but a lot of people don't have that kind of income to go fit into classes like that, and they're getting teased, and they're not getting the information that's real, what they really need to be effective. A lot of these guys have never rehabbed homes. How many new wholesalers or people that want to wholesale homes here have rehabbed a home? One in the room, right? Two, I think. So, it's fine. Nothing wrong with that, but that's just reality. So, I think as a whole, those of us that are in the business, we probably need to help wholesalers a little bit more. How about you come out and look at a rehab of mine? Let's take a look at this. You had your rehab number at 20 grand. The house was built in 1965.
Coming to see yours tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. And it's actually not mine. Mine is down the road. William Hart in my office is that. We figured it would be a better one. But his is framed out. He has two right down the road, and I have one on the
I've
line.
been pitching it as yours. Just
Yeah,
so heads up.
Okay. I better learn a lot about it by tomorrow.
We'll correct it tomorrow. But hey, if after we're finished seeing that one, we can go out and
We can go down the road and see Woodbine as well. That one's it's a lot more put together than Tupelo. But it's good to have them come out and see what is the actual cost and price per foot on the interior paint. What is it on exterior paint? How much do you plan to put on hardwoods? These are things that you have to know. And us as a wholesale firm, I can tell you, they know I try to put out the numbers. I try to qualify everything as best I can, as we humanly can. But everyone's going to have different opinions. This is investment real estate. You're not going to be foolproof 100%, but to at least be as well educated and put out the information that you best know, what you're best fit for, hey, that's all we can do. So I encourage anybody that's wholesaling that's new, go find somebody that's actually investing. Find somebody that's going through a rehab process. Go out and take time to learn. I think too many people want the easy way out. There's no book. I'm sorry. I just dived in head first and started doing.
I tell people this is not a lazy man's business. What do you always say, Ron? You gotta work.
You gotta work.
You gotta work, man.
Got to work.
No, sir. Yeah, the number is the best teacher.
Exactly. I 100% agree.
That's it.
And by the way, Manesh, meet Barry. Barry?
Yeah. We got to meet earlier.
Good.
I would say that the number one thing that I see with investors from here to Florida, anywhere, is that you guys are trying to get into this business. This is a business that makes hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. We're literally talking about a business that a 19-year-old kid can make 5 to 10 grand a month with. So why would you give up on it in 6 months, a year, or 2 years? I see a lot of individuals, they'll sign up to go with Don or anyone, and then after 90 days of not finding me a house, or 90 days of, well, when am I going to get my big deal? They give up. But you went to college for 4 years, spent 100 grand on education, and then asked me for anything but a piece of paper. But you paid $1,000 for a real estate class, and I need to make 100 grand in 90 days. Gotta be realistic, people. You gotta be realistic. Those who stick with the plan, those who keep coming to Atlanta REIA, those who keep signing up and going to every class that Dunn has, that keeps going to everything that Dustin posts, those are the people that are gonna be successful. You have to keep going.
But you also got to take massive action.
Massive action, that's where the action comes. Because if you keep going to these on-site meetings, you keep getting on done, you keep, Dustin, what are you doing next? Roger, what are you doing next? You're going to be successful because you're around successful people. If you guys don't know my story, I swept the streets for free for 4 months just to learn real estate. Just to learn real estate. So some of you guys are taking the wrong attitude towards this real estate market, and what you should be doing is saying, I don't care if it takes 6 months, a year, 2 years, I don't care if it takes me 30 grand a year to learn this business. I'm going to do it. And this is not, there's no B plan, because to me and my team, the B plan is admitting that the A plan was never the best plan. There is no B plan on my team. It's an A plan, and that's it. So I would advise you guys, again, I wasn't planning on speaking, as you see, I sit here with the food, but Manesh is one of the guys I know that's been in the city that makes major moves. I trust Dustin. I trust, you just have to bury yourself in this business the same way you did your job. The same way you gave that college degree all your time for 4 years. Do that with real estate. Do that with real estate. And watch success just happen. Do not worry about the money. As far as the wholesalers, I love you guys. I actually don't teach wholesaling anymore. But I love my wholesalers. And usually when I get multiple wholesalers, what I'll do is I'll tell them go to Manesh's office or something like that and sit down with everybody that's a part of the deal. Let's hash it out. Let me educate you guys on exactly how this deal is going to go. And guess what? My attorney can cut a check to everybody that's a part of it. But if you guys can get me the A straight to the C, instead of having the A to B to B, C contract, let's get everybody paid. I actually had a wholesaler, it was 3 guys on the deal. Everybody wanted 5 grand. I said, look, this is how hard money works. When I broke the numbers down, they said, you know what, we actually will be okay with $1,000. I said, no problem. You get 1,000, you get 1,000, you get 1,000. And the attorney cut the deal, they didn't have to show the closing. Those guys flood me with deals all the time, man. Because I took time out to structure the deal. Because guys like myself, Dustin, Barry, we are actually products, we love this business. Whether they're new wholesale, we're going to do this business forever. So people are going to come and go, but we're going to do it forever. So I can appreciate Net Worth Realty for what they do, because people will say, hey, you don't have to use an agent. What I'm going to tell you, that is a filter that you guys need to make sure that the deal is done correctly. Okay?
Okay.
Uh-oh. You said okay, somebody? Okay.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you. Here's the 50.
Give me the 50.
Thanks, Ron. We'll
Thank
have
you, Ron.
next month then.
Thank you. So to piggyback to Ron's point, you know, I tell my team, it takes 6 months just to figure out your head from your behind. And it takes you a year to really grasp the concept of the business. It really takes that long. And we're immersed in it daily, right? With more deals than the average. Yes, Russ.
What are you doing to train your guys to hunt deals?
So we do a lot of on-the-job training. With my office, I was the guinea pig officer. I didn't come out here with a senior or a third like many of our offices do now. Some of you guys may not know the story. We started in Texas when we decided to expand again. I'm kind of the guinea pig of the company. So I came out here, sight unseen, and kind of just took a dive in leap of faith and opened it. So I'm doing most of the training as I can, and then they are really helpful to one another. And I come in and step in and fill in some of the parts they don't know, and then I fly them out to Austin for formal trainings, 2 formal trainings, and then we continue on in the field. So that's how we go about doing it. In addition to that, deals that go a little sideways, I'll buy them and I'll personally rehab them. One of which is right down the road from Tupelo tomorrow. What did we do the other day? We went out and checked out Woodbine and we talked about pricing. I say I want you guys to understand, here's a guideline. We have a guideline. We have a software that we built that they can use their iPads and say, okay, here's this in the rehab, here's this in the rehab, here's this in the rehab. But you can't expect every house to have a window that's going to only cost you $250. You may have a house that's built in 1910, like Woodbine is, that has a very unusual size window. And so that window, hey, by the way, you have this on your rehab estimate. This is a guideline, but for a house that's built in 1910 that has a weird size, you may need to double it by 2, or if it's wood, you may need to boot by 3 just to cover the cost of a single window. So it's things like that we're teaching them. Does that answer the question? No.
What are you doing to train your people on how to find
How to find the houses.
Right. Are you doing attendance or cold call?
Off-market property.
We do a lot of skip tracing. We're doing a lot of postcard letter lead generations. A lot of things anybody else is doing, we're just doing it full time. And then we have certain, what do you call it, scripts and stuff that they can use, and then we kind of branch off of that. But we're in the field a lot.
So you're doing a lot of the same marketing we do, you're just doing it times 10.
Yes.
Yep.
That's it. There's no rocket science to this game. I think anybody can tell you that. It's just grit and getting out there and doing it. We don't sit in our offices. We get out in our cars. Reginald, Tim, they'll call, hey, I got a house here, let's go. Christian will call me, hey, let's go look at the house here. We'll go out, we'll walk it together. We'll talk about, hey, did you drive the comps? Okay, you drove the comparables. While you were driving to look at that one, I didn't see you skip trace that one. Why didn't you skip trace that? Hey, I didn't see any signs in the neighborhood. You have 4 poles that are right here. Why don't you have a We Buy Houses cash sign right there? Why?
So your boys are
They're looking at me like, they're hustling. Sometimes. They're hustling. So that's how we teach them. Just go out and do it. Do it. Yes, sir.
Why would I use an agent? Because I assume that I'm gonna have to pay this agent, and I'm actually doing a wholesale deal, right? So what's the difference in using an agent to do my wholesale deal versus me just writing a contract myself?
I think it depends on the time the person has available, the knowledge of the contract, and if they have the contract. A lot of times, and I'll tell you from personal experience, I had a friend of mine that quit his catering job and said he wanted to wholesale it. He didn't tell me. He got like 10 grand for this class and blah, blah, blah. And then next thing you know, I had another realtor friend of mine, and she calls me and she's like, hey, Mark wants me to send out all these contracts and blah, blah, blah. And I will tell you this, unless it is a beginner agent on the flip side of that's accepting that contract is probably getting deleted, to be honest with you. Because for one, that agent doesn't know what she's doing. She doesn't know the buyer. She doesn't know the proof of funds. She can't prove and say with 100% fact, hey, this buyer is going to close. When you're submitting an offer through an agent, that agent needs to 100%, got nervous about it, 100% say without fact that, hey, my buyer is going to close on this deal. A lot of times they can't translate that the same way you can as a wholesaler. But also dealing with deals on the FMLS, it's pretty difficult. I'd say off-market's way easier to deal with. Yes, sir.
So I've been told that there's like a fine line between an agent and a wholesaler. Like, what if you're an agent who wants to wholesale? Like, how do you?
I mean, you certainly can. There's a lot more disclosure involved with being a licensed agent than there isn't. I see pros and cons to either way. I think it's just what fits you personally. Yeah, I think it's just what fits you. I was gonna get into another thought there, I totally forgot. Agent. I'll come back to it. Anyway,
Well, I had an agent-related question, kind of based on what Ron was saying.
Sure.
You are a broker and a wholesaler.
Yes.
What's the difference between buying from you and buying from, let's say, gold mine properties? Do we pay you simply a wholesale fee, or do we have to pay a commission as well? How does it work?
So we work as the principal in the transaction as the buyer to get these under contract. We also work as the principal as the seller. So there's no additional commission involved whatsoever. It's the same. What the price is that was your closing cost. No commission on top of that.
That was my agent question. Yeah, we got one right here.
Yes, if you are using an agent and you as a wholesaler want to make multiple offers through that agent, are you required to use one earnest money deposit, or do you have to use multiple earnest money deposits?
And can you repeat that?
I'm not sure I understand the question. So if you're using multiple agents to make
No, if you
off-
have an agent that you're using, one agent,
Okay.
and you as a wholesaler want to use that agent to make multiple offers, do you have to have for each deal earnest money deposit on each?
If you have each one accepted, then you'll have to have earnest money for each one of those. It depends on what's accepted.
Okay.
You have them accepted.
Accepted, right. And it depends on what's written in your contract within X amount of days. A lot of times you can cover yourself in your contract, so you'll deposit the earnest money after due diligence period is completed. As a way to cover yourself there. So yeah.
And you have 3 days from binding. You have your earnest money, yes, it's not after.
Well, it depends on the contract, because you have X amount of days that are written in there. We write in there in the third section after X amount of days of due diligence, if that's what we agreed to. But that's in the GAR. Not necessarily the one majors.
I hear that question a lot. If I make 10 offers, I have to put down 10 different earnest money deposits.
Only what's accepted. Yes. Only what's accepted. So let's see. What else do we need to talk about here? Comping properties. That's probably a big one, right? How do we determine comping? How do we determine a value on these properties? I think I'm going to go through and just comp a couple with you guys. And show you what we look at. There's a lot to consider that people don't think about. And sometimes I hear people just beating up deals right away, and I get it. Everyone has their own perspective. But sometimes they're looking at a list and like, well, first of all, square footage in Georgia is crazy. I'm from Texas, and I've never seen anything like it when it comes to square footage. Measure your own houses, because these things are wild out here. Don't say it's 1,000 square feet. But they had an addition on there, and it may be 1,400, and you have no idea. We have one right now where we went out and looked at it. We were confident based on XYZ, and I went out and saw it after my agent, and I said, "Do you realize this house is 600 or 700 square feet bigger than we thought?" So we have a lot more value here. Basements, that's another thing. It took me a year and a half to figure out like above grade versus below grade. Below grade square footage doesn't bring you the same value as if it's above grade, right? So things like that matter. We have to guess.
Yeah, well, let me frame what you're getting ready to get into. Let me frame it this way. And this is how we kind of started the meeting off. Was you're a wholesaler. We got a lot of wholesalers here in the room. We have a lot of wholesalers come to our meeting. We get all these property flyers. We're new. How do we know a good deal from a bad deal? I mean, because every wholesaler will tell you if they think the average repair value is this, they think the repairs are this. How do you know deal or no deal in your opinion?
That's a great question, and there's so many ways to answer that. I think it depends on the individual and their individual goals. Is the buyer buying hard money? Are they using cash? Are they using a form of private funds? Are they borrowing against a brokerage account? What are they doing? So at the end of the day, it's dependent on the returns for that individual in what we see. I can tell you from our buyers buying hard money, they're seeing anywhere between 50 to 110% return on their money. 50%, 40 to 50%, 60 grains, that's going to be your safer bets, your cleaner properties, your East Cobbs, your West Cobbs, your things of that nature. I think the higher percentage returns when they're using hard money on these bigger rehabs. We're predominantly talking probably Southwest at this point where we're dealing with the Beltline, because the Beltline is causing massive amounts of appreciation. But you guys take advantage of it. I've never seen anything like this in Georgia. I mean, real estate market here is a moving amoeba. You just always find out where it's moving to next. It's constantly moving. And everything along the Beltline right now in Atlanta is incredible. Just a little shout out for the Beltline. I know most of you have heard of it. There is a Beltline tour. I've taken our squad on it. It's worth it.
I hear it.
It's good. Yeah, it's like it's at the Inman Park Market Station. I believe they meet Fridays, Saturdays, and they do from like 9 or 9:30 till 12 or 1. And they'll take you around the Beltline. I highly recommend you do it.
Any of you guys interested in doing that as a group?
I think it's great.
Get together, do the Beltline?
Yeah. The tour, do they just take you by the part that's finished, or do they also take you by the parts that's going to be?
They took us through everything on the Southwest side. So even if it wasn't quite finished, but most of it's going to be about finished trail-wise and everything. Because I know we just sponsored an event with community communities, and they were pretty much about all done down there with the trails. So, anyway, let's.
All right, so you got a new investor here. They walk out of a meeting like this with wholesaler flyers. You said it's kind of based on their goals and what they want to accomplish. It's a big part of it. But how do they take a look at these deals when they get home? And how do they make a decision quickly in order to buy one of these deals before they're gone, especially if it's a good deal? How do they know a junk deal from a good deal, in your opinion?
Oh man, it's hard for me to say for somebody. I think if you can make money with known variables, right? Most of the time you're going into it with, okay, I'm guessing that NPO is okay, ARV is okay, I'm guessing that rehab is okay. Yeah, do I have a backed up rehab estimate? Do I feel comfortable that that's solid? Do I feel comfortable that my value solid? Do I feel comfortable my holding costs are here? I think as long as you can back down all your costs and know that they are legitimate, and you can prove all of them, and you can do the math according to you, because I can't say for you, everyone's going to be different. And I'll tell you, with our hard money buyers, if we can prove 50 to 100%, again, depending on the area, they're going to buy the deal, right? So I think you got to be able to know, okay, are these variables legitimate? And if you can prove the legitimate variables and you can see a return in the time frame that you expect as an individual, I think it's a deal at that point. But you got to know that the variables are fact, or as close as you can be. I mean, this is investment real estate, so you can have a rehab and you may open up a wall. Let me check.
You got to hit a button to throw that up on the screen. I'm not sure what button it is on yours. Oh, mine is F6. What's that? There's internet on mine. I've got internet on mine. Mine's hooked up. I'm not logged in with mine. Okay. He's going to attempt to log in, and by the way, I do have internet here if you need to jump on it. But here is my internet, if you need it. You just going to click that for the password. There it is. Okay. So that'll get you on the internet, but you still got to get into the MLS. All right. While he's doing that, we got any questions here? We keep it coming.
For them, well, in this wholesaling marketplace, a lot of the wholesalers, he's talking about like do due diligence to check your numbers.
Yeah.
But a lot of wholesalers, they won't even send you a contract until you send out your earnest money. So for newer investors who can't necessarily analyze a deal that quick or don't want to seeking, send out money sight unseen. And
Yeah, okay. For the seasoned investors in the room, if a wholesaler asks you for earnest money down before you've even seen the deal, what is your answer?
No way.
Is it no way? What's your answer? Is it no? Or is it hell no?
No. Okay, but some people only give you like a day. Like, yeah, like due diligence of a day. Like,
Yeah.
how?
Well, if
Like,
you're
you
new,
gotta
that's
do the
tough.
contracting?
If you're new, that's tough. If you're seasoned, you can do it in your sleep. You can do it sight unseen.
I mean, I've grown to, by doing these courses and stuff, and being here and stuff, now
Yeah.
I can analyze a deal quicker.
Yeah, that's what I said. Not all wholesalers are created equal.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, the fellows you're talking about, are they reputable? I mean, do you know them? Are they reputable folks, or are they some new guy that just took a course on wholesaling?
Some of the wholesalers that they have the same deal structure type stuff, and so yeah, some
Yeah.
of them are reputable, but some of them,
Well, like your more reputable ones, and you know who they are.
Yeah.
They were on our panel. There are people like
Of course, yeah.
Manesh and New Western. And, they do this for a living. They got a reputation. They've got their way of doing business, whatever it is. And if you want to buy from them, you got to do it their way.
Yeah.
Then there's all these other guys off the street that you don't necessarily know. Don't be giving them money, you know, up front just to see their deal. But ask around.
Just work, man. You know what? Just don't even worry. I never worry about if a wholesaler is lying to me or not. It doesn't matter.
You
Just
assume
go.
they're-
Just
You
go.
assume they're lying.
Yeah, I assume they're lying. I mean, it's no. What's the worst gonna happen?
I'll say it, all buyers and sellers are liars.
Buyers and sellers, right?
No.
But what's the worst gonna happen? He says, "Look, I got a day. I need $1,000. I need it by 5 o'clock today. Go out and look at it." What am I doing? This is what I do for a living.
Yep.
Let's go out and look at it, because I'm gonna tell you now, if you get a deal in 303, 16, or 17, you're gonna move. You're gonna move as fast as your car can get you there. The problem is that you're prejudging the areas, or you're not treating everything consistent. So the same way if someone calls you with a deal in Brookhaven and you go right out, do the same thing for East Point. Do it for Cobb. Do it. What else are you gonna do? Just work.
But as a new investor, I mean, a lot of these guys take advantage of new investors.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like a new investor who doesn't have okay, I have analyzed it. Now me personally, I don't listen to the wholesaler's numbers, but if I see that they're good already, I'll adjust.
You should always do your own due diligence.
And I'll over adjust for rehab.
But as a new investor, you can't steal or deal in slow motion.
Yeah.
Somebody else is come on, sweep that deal out. If it's a good deal,
Exactly.
or even a good marginal deal that's going to get taken quick, and somebody's usually willing to pay a lot more, you can't do it in slow motion. You got to get good in your numbers,
Yeah, and the thing he
which is
said,
why we spend so much time training you guys how to calculate the numbers.
Yeah, but even like he said with the windows, like I actually had a counter about that. Like certain type of windows can easily cost double of
Yeah, of
what a
course.
traditional window costs.
It's a big ass window. It's going to
If
cost
people
double.
don't know that kind of stuff, and they just go in and like, oh, I'm doing this generic estimate
Yeah.
off of this class.
Well-
but then you go to a contract, you sign a contract,
Yeah.
and you get a contract in a week later to go through it and get an estimate, and you find out some of the stuff is 2 or 3 times
Yep.
worth.
Once you get it under contract, you got hopefully plenty more time to do your due diligence before you have to close. But look, Manesh has got his computer up. I was just stalling here for a few minutes while he was getting it online. So he's ready. Someone give him the mic and we're going to take it back away.
Sure. What were you talking about?
We were-
Earnest money up front?
Yeah. He mentioned the wholesaler wanted him to give him $1,000 down before he's even seen the property.
And never ever give money to a person. I've had people ask for earnest money. I'm like, you crazy, man, get out of here.
So the question is then, when it's time to give an earnest money deposit, who does it go to?
The attorney or the brokerage account with, The attorney or the brokerage with the trust account, one of the two. As long as it's registered with GREC.
You don't send it directly to Bank of America for in the personal?
So you don't give it to the guy out in the parking lot?
Not the guy in the parking lot.
No? You don't give him cash? No? You guys clear on this? You give it to your attorney or to the broker? If there is a broker. If there's not a broker, you give it to your attorney. The attorney holds it. It's not some guy you've never met that wants $1,000 from them. Just be clear.
So here's a deal that this is in the Hunter Hills neighborhood. If you're not familiar with Hunter Hills, it's near the Beltline. I think 315, I believe. 4 or 5, I forget. Let's see. So there's a pending at 165. It's 915 square feet. There's a 169, 1395 square feet. This one's pretty well renovated, I believe. I think this is a Chewinka.
Uh-oh, not
It is. Sexy renovation. You know it's Chewinka. So
We all
he's-
know Chewinka.
everybody knows Mike.
Yeah, we just had a, the panel. You,
Right,
you
right,
were
right.
out of town, but
Right, I couldn't
dude,
make it.
you missed a good one. How many of you guys were there for our panel, wholesale panel last week? Was that awesome or what? It was great. We had Jack Houdron, Mike Chewinka, Mr. Tycoon,
Okay.
and Rock Screw. We had all these personalities.
Chewinka
And
and
it was a great time, man. It was like stand-up comedy.
So we're looking through this deal, right? It's you've got this one that's sold by Mike. And we only go 6 months back, okay? No further than 6 months back. And especially for these trendy neighborhoods, you can look 6 months back, but the last 90 days is really going to start showing you where we're going with these values. So this one sold in December 20th of last year. So you can see the values are starting to get rolling over there. Mike is he's a comp setter. I mean, the guy's a beast with comp setting. I mean, we love him for that because he kind of sets trends. So you can kind of see the value starting to start cooking over there. You have this one that sold for 165. Now our subject property is across the street. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, all on the main with an addition. This is the one I was talking about. The tax record said 1,200 square feet and some change. We went out and measured it. It actually had an addition off the back for the complete back end of the house, and it's about 600 to 700 additional square feet that wasn't originally factored for. So this one is a 2-1 on the main with a 1-1 in the basement. So we walked across the street and went and looked at it because it's pending. Holy cow. It is, there's no master. It's a 2-1 on the main. Okay, so there's no master to begin with. Multiple different textures on the ceiling, not sealed whatsoever. Horrible tile job. The kitchen looks good. They put nice shaker style cabinets and granite, but I mean it was a really poor rehab.
This is a rehab?
This one was a rehab, yeah. Oh. So yeah, I can show you some pictures here.
Uh-oh. Nice.
So the hardwoods, I don't know who did the hardwood job or if they never. It's all over the place and it doesn't look like it was very well finished. I know it's kind of hard for you to tell, but along here, it's really hard to tell there. It's just not sealed at all. It's really, really poorly done.
I don't know.
No, this, we didn't do this one. This is a comp. So I don't know who rehabbed it. You know who did it? Oh, sorry. So they staged it. It wasn't staged when we looked at it. But, so here's another one where I'm telling you some of the square footage is in the basement, right? So the kitchen looks good. This is the same house. The kitchen, they did a decent job. They used crappy tile. They didn't, again, like between the stove here, it's just subfloor. They didn't tile all the way through. They didn't put any board to keep it all clean and cover everything up. It's just open. It just doesn't look right. And then you have a bedroom and bath in the basement. Again, no master with carpet, and it's just so that is pending at 165, and it's 900 square feet up with, I don't know, 300 or so in the basement. So anyway, that's just to prove, that's probably why that one sold for that price point. Let's see what else.
Where is that at?
This is at Hunter Hills.
Hunter Hills.
Mhm. And then I want to go back and show you guys the active and so yeah.
could it be, so with the rehab not being to where it could it be the location? Like the buyer who's gonna buy because it's so low, still under affordable living, that they're gonna buy it, maybe put some money into themselves over the next couple of years?
I don't think it was to that point because it was a rehab. I mean, maybe they planned on it, but I'm guessing that it's somebody else doing an affordable housing loan. And if you notice, that is the Beltline. You can walk to it from this house. Yes, sir.
How many days was it on the market?
I don't know.
Days on market was the question.
It was. I always do this with this exact. So it was listed 123, and let's see what I pin. I'm sorry, January 23rd.
I got a question for these new guys here.
Yeah.
When you're pulling comps and turning values, you look at solds, or you look at pendings, or you look at listings, or all three?
I think you're going to look at all three. You really want to see a full picture of where it's going, right? So your solds in the past, as I was saying, you want to see the past 6 months because that's what the appraiser is going to look at. He's ultimately going to pull comps from the past 6 months. But if you, like I said, Atlanta's a moving amoeba, especially around this Beltline, you're going to find values are going to creep up in certain areas. So if you can catch the curve and get ahead of it, by the time you're going to sell it, you're gonna get a little bit. You can't bank on that, but
So
more often than not,
I like to
you're gonna
look
see
at
that.
listings to see what the competition's listing
Right,
every
competition,
house for,
right.
what they look like.
Exactly.
What do you gather from ones that are pending? What do you take away from pendings?
Pending is more so showing us where it's moving than active.
I, as a consumer who is not an agent, can see that it's pending, but I have no idea what it's pending for. As an agent and a broker, can you see what it's under
You
contract
can't see it. We can call the agent and talk to them. Some agents divulge more info than others. So, but it's always worth a call.
for? Yeah, because when I see a pending, I mean, I don't know what it's pending for.
Sometimes you can play the hot and cold game.
Okay.
So, to get back to this one, then you have this one that's active. These things look. So this one's pending at 219.8. This one's 1,700. So this one is about a little bit smaller than what ours would have been. So, and this one is 3.2 on the main, just like ours is. Trying to get some pictures on the inside here. Oh, they paid for the aerial photos. You guys do that on your listings? I haven't done it yet, but I was thinking about it.
Yeah, I've got a buddy with a drone, so.
Does he do it?
So, yeah, I got a buddy that does it for a living, well, not a living, but he does his hobby,
I like
drone
that.
photos. Yeah.
So look at this rehab. This is a pretty nice rehab.
Nicely staged, too.
The hardwood's looking a little iffy right here. It's kind of hard. I know the quality up there is not as good, but nice high ceilings in there. Staged. Nice big kitchen. Shaker style cabinets. Looks like 12 by 24 tile. That's more of a modern feel than the little 12 by 12 tiles that they use at the other house. That's stuff they probably got on clearance at Floor & Decor.
Exactly.
So, let me ask you guys a question. You know, seeing what you saw, you have an active at 205. That's I forgot how big that one was. So you've got 1441 square feet active at 205. We're 1,800, 1,800, somewhere in that range, square feet. The rehab, it's already pretty clean. They're going to probably put about 65 into that home. What do you think they would shoot for? What would you as a wholesaler say, hey, I'm going to put that value at?
All right, this is a test.
I mean, because I think we're going to have a bunch of different answers here.
Well, let's get it going.
What would you say, Ron?
Oh no, I know the answer. No, I'm gonna tell you. I already tell you. No, I'm gonna let you.
We'll come back to you. Is that
But
what
yeah, please do.
All right.
I don't know.
Just based on what you saw, real quick.
So you got
I don't know what the
1,000
I
square
don't
feet.
remember what
Not
the
enough
other
info?
figures were.
Go for the information again, man.
So you have 1,000 square, what kind of value would you say as a wholesaler if you had a property and you were going to list that one for sale? You have an active at 205. You have a pending at 219A. These are all currently happening. You have a sold that was 1,400 square feet versus your 1,800 square feet. That's sold in December. Then you have a pending that's about 1,200 square feet, but has no master horrible rehab, and some of its square footage is in the basement. So.
What was the sale for?
That one, huh?
How much was the sale?
So you're,
That one's pending at 165.
The sold
That
count.
one.
so
The sold,
is the question, what do you think the after repair value would be?
well, yeah, what do you think you would prove the after repair value?
What was the sold count?
The sold was at 170. 170, and it was 1,400 square foot 3-2 in December of
The active were 205 and what?
Active 205, pending 219A. The active is 1,400 square feet. The pending is 1,700 square feet. So I don't think we can say 200 plus right now, or 219, 225 yet. We can't say that because an appraiser won't appraise it for such, right? But would you as an investor buy that knowing that it's trending up?
What would your conservative ARV be?
190, 200.
190, 200?
Would anybody else agree with that? 190, 200?
Yeah.
If you said that on a conservative basis, it's 1,700 square feet, I think that's reasonable, okay? So, yes, sir.
So as a wholesaler, what should you pick it up for? What's your buying comp? We got the selling side of it. What should you buy it for?
Yes.
Of course, it depends on the
That's
renovation.
one number we hadn't talked about.
Right.
We haven't talked about that, so we
Which
don't
is the
know.
repairs.
Yeah, but you have to begin with the end in mind. The reason for asking is because when wholesalers get homes under contract, everybody can go to Manesh and get the ARV. But how do you work backwards to get the
Alright.
number?
Yeah.
So manage,
Okay.
we got the ARV.
All right, so we're saying
190, 200.
ARV 190, 200. We're gonna walk out there with our rehab estimate. Now, here's the problem and the fallacy with a lot of the wholesalers are not being taught how to use that wholesale sheet that they're getting, nor is it often accurate to the regional basis that they're in. Even with ours, we have to continually train and get them up to date with, for example, Woodbine. I noticed that the window costs were being too low in some of these houses. I said, hey guys, let's come out and look at this. And then some of them were way overshooting granite. You know, granite's kind of the formica these days. You know, you have to go with the nicer quartz or marble if you're going in a nicer home. I mean, sorry if I'm saying that, but I think that's
No, that's okay. So, well, that's what I was getting ready to ask. Based on your experience, based on that neighborhood, based on that nice house you just showed us, just off the top of your head, knowing what you know and knowing how many deals you've done, what is a dollar amount that you would throw at that renovation and max it out like the other ones we saw?
We don't have any pictures of this, so I can't show you what I'm basing this off of, but we were thinking 65, right? And it's not beat up as hell. I mean, someone did some work on it.
There's a lot of rehabs we've been doing lately, we've been putting 70 into it easy.
Oh yeah, our average rehab is probably 70, 80 grand all day, so 65 is actually a low one for us.
I'm glad you said that. So 65 on the low end.
65 on the low end.
On the low end,
So
I mean,
let's say
like,
so put 10% in there. Let's put 10% on top of it.
You could have had it.
Exactly. So 80 would probably be.
Well,
as an investor, I would shoot for 80 just to cushion the price for.
So you got some padding.
Yeah.
Because you're new and you don't necessarily get the great deals on repairs and contracts these experienced guys do. It is going to cost you more.
Exactly.
It's definitely going to cost you
so
more.
here's the thing, and here's the big question, and you know, I'm not saying this to ruffle any feathers. You know, a lot of people preach 65% minus, 70% minus repairs. A lot of people say, I won't buy unless I'm doing that. Look, I do this for a living. I've been doing it for a while. I tell you, it's hard to get those numbers. Those are not very easy to come by.
Right.
And it takes a lot of marketing and a lot of seeing houses and a lot of rejection. I'll be honest with you, it's not realistic. I know a lot of people preach it. It's not realistic.
It's tough. It's not impossible.
It's
but
not
it's
impossible.
definitely tough. It is.
But if you are yourself marketing and you're getting that pay, great, perfect. That's good. But if you're coming to companies like us and saying, hey, I want 65, 75, look, and I see a lot of people, I can flub some numbers. I can make my ARV in that one 225. I can make my rehab 50, right, and say, hey, boom, I got a deal for you. You're going to see a lot of that.
You guys hearing this?
I'm just going to shoot you with what I know my numbers are going to be, and demand is going to dictate what we can or cannot buy, what LTVs is. It's just the way it is. When you miss out on 100 deals and you're like trying to bang my head at this particular LTV, at some point don't you think, okay, everyone's got to eat too, everyone's going through the same thing, okay, do we need to change that? Well, as the market gets better, yes, you're going to have to change it. Hey, Barry.
So how much are you saying?
LTV-wise?
Yeah.
I think it varies. We go anywhere from, if we're in some crappier neighborhoods in the low 70s, even on up to East Cobb neighborhoods, 80%.
Now, I have to disagree with you, especially for most of the people here, and I don't mean to.
Sure.
I'd rather miss 10 or 20 houses than see somebody go in at 80%. And you have a lot of experience, I'm not doubting you, but I'd rather miss 10, 20, 30 houses.
My question, Barry, is where are you marketing for yourself for those deals?
If I can't get it at 65 cents on the dollar minus repair, I'll pass. Or you have to go outside the greater Atlanta area and start marketing there and looking there, where
Makes
you're not going
perfect
to
sense.
have the
Yes.
competition.
Perfect sense. I agree with that.
Where you're not going to have the competition of 10,000 people in greater Atlanta
Yep.
who are going to overpay and cause you to lose money. Like you can talk
Yep.
to 90% of the people who have left the business.
Yep.
Because
So that's why I asked if you heard what he was saying about the Mayo formula, the 65 to 75 to 70.
80,
I asked if you heard what he's saying. If you're in these highly competitive hot markets, the numbers are going up. There's always somebody that's going to pay more than you. Always. And they're driving them up. So that's why he's saying it's so tough to find that in these hot pockets. They're lucky to get whatever they get.
Yes.
And if you want them, you're going to be paying a little more.
And the other thing I want you to know, because I get these calls every day, several of them. When somebody sends you one of their contractors, when you buy the deal from them, you better get 2 or 3 or 4 other opinions, because I just had somebody call me where they bought a house from somebody, a wholesaler or whatever, and the guy sent them a contract. They said 70 grand. A friend of mine went out, told the people 110.
Yeah.
But before he even did it, he said, I have to bring my architect out there.
Well, hey,
And the architect said the house had to be...
tonight we're talking about wholesalers. Contractors is a whole other story.
Right.
That's a whole other thing.
Another thing
Yep.
to beware of, you
Yep.
gotta get several opinions.
Absolutely. So my point, I'm going to go back to this point and we'll wrap it and hand the mic back to him, was that what you both said is true. If you're going outside the city in the suburbs or these less hot markets or rural areas, you can get 65 65 cents on the dollar all day long. We still do it to this day. All the leads that we're getting that are still at 65 or less, we're finding ourselves. We're finding them ourselves. We're marketing ourselves and finding what's exactly what he said. If you can go through other people that did all the marketing for you, they're down in these hot areas of town, obviously you're going to be paying more. So I'm going to hand the mic back to him, let him field your questions.
Sorry, you was your first answer.
You talk about up to 80% less repairs. You know, I look at work down there all the time in there, and you know how many half-finished jobs that I see. You know why?
Where are you talking?
I'm talking West End,
Oh,
Sylvan Hill.
I don't think that's at 80% yet by any means, but like.
Well,
East
I
Cobb
mean,
is there.
the higher you raise it up, the shorter your margin goes. If you've got somebody that's inexperienced, doesn't have the numbers right,
That's right.
you're gonna. There's a lot of work down there that you can get because somebody else already done a good bit of it and lost their ass.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is the rehab process. Most people don't understand. They go jump into it. These houses are 1910, 1920, 1930 built. Or they'll go get into a historic district and they're in hard money. And then they run out of costs. So you have to be careful. A lot of hard money lenders will lend to you, not knowing that you have enough money.
And this is a beginning investors group. So let me ask all of you and the other seasoned investors in the room. should brand newbies that maybe hadn't done their first fix and flip yet, should they be doing $80,000 rehabs?
I would say no.
Because what is an $80,000 rehab for somebody that's brand new? Is it not a $100,000 rehab? I mean, you think it's 80, doesn't it always go up more?
Here's the only scenario I
And
would
you have to
say
go through 2 or 3 different contractors?
is if they have ample capital and they're willing to take that risk, and you tell them everything you can buy, you tell them about all the warnings. And they still say, look, I've got the capital to do this. I see the upside for this area. I have a really good rehabber. If you have a Home Depot or you have something really qualified, you've got someone with a good track record, and you have a proven value and you have the money, then I'd say yes. But you'd rather have 12 months of interest and a little cushion on top of that.
And if,
Right.
Justin, I need to add something, and I think you would agree with this.
Yes, sir.
If you're brand new, you better get, like PPG is the perfect training for you, where you're not spending $30, $40, $50,000. And you're brand new, you've never done a deal, you gotta get training from somebody. Because it's, the $3,000 is sure to be a payback of way more, instead of making a mistake and costing you $30, $40, $50,000.
Yeah. Because sometimes when we have these creative deal structuring groups and we poo-poo deals, it's not always because they're a bad deal. It may be a bad deal for you in your current situation and where you are and how long you've been in the game and how much money you have available. I mean, you probably have no business doing an $80,000 rehab if it's your first rehab and you don't have a partner.
You probably don't even have a business doing an $80,000 house, forget about the rehab.
So,
And the good thing about PPG is, they can, Dustin and Don, is this correct, that you can review that and tell them if it's even worth going and buying that property?
yeah. Because you know what you could do, what Manesh could do, what me and Roger could do. We've done rehabs before. We've done lots of them. You, on the other hand, if you're brand new, are at a much greater risk than we are. You will learn the hard way like we do, how many contractors you have to go through to get one deal, one house finished. And they walk out on you and take your money.
I don't like $80,000 rehab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're kind of famous for doing much
Yeah.
lower price rehabs.
Right.
And done, how many hundreds now?
Well, we're over 800.
Over 800.
We're over 900.
And I was like, how the hell did you do that in that short time period you did it in? It's because they weren't $80,000 rehabs.
A lot of them were dirt easy.
Yeah.
So what else do we want to talk about here?
Some more questions. So here's where we were leading to.
Yeah.
You showed us quickly, you did the quick dirty method of how to pull some comps. There's obviously a little bit more involved than that, but he gave you the gist of it. So as a wholesaler yourself, you know how you've got the comps pulled now. How do you quickly determine repairs on a house you may have never seen before, or you may look at it in 10 minutes? How do you quickly know about what it's going to cost?
Experience. That's the only way. You can't. I mean, a newbie can't come in and do that in 10 minutes. To be honest.
Yep.
I think you have to see enough of the rehabs, and you have to learn how to determine a rehab sheet that works for you. But you have to be able to learn how to use it, because it's not going to be 100% foolproof. You have to learn. It's a tool, and it's a tool you have to learn how to use. Right? It's the same with our team. Our tool, it's a tool, and they don't always get it right. We have to get it. We have to do these training sessions, right?
Yeah. So did you hear his answer? Experience, practice. You know, after a while, a 1,500 square foot house is with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths is it's kind of the same. You get to know how much it costs to repair a 1,500 square foot house is 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. You get good at it after a while. You do a few 2,500 square foot houses, you get good at it. You kind of know off the top of your head about what it's going to cost quickly. It comes with practice. So that's why we offer all these trainings. That's why we take you out in the field. That's why we do the on-site renovation group so often, so you can get out there and see it for yourself. But it comes with practice. But there are some rules of thumb that you can use quickly off the top of your head to kind of guess, especially as a wholesaler yourself. As a wholesaler, you don't have to be perfect. You just got to be in the ballpark. But as a rehabber, you better know your repair costs. You better know your repair costs and labor costs.
So on that example that you just gave, how much did you say the wholesaler should put that property under contract?
Let's assume
that's where
we're going. I think it depends on you and the demand that you have built.
Well, let's say it's your deal now.
Six
You're
months,
going to put it on a contract. You know the value.
We're going to take, on our acquisition side on a deal like that, we're probably going to go out and acquire it at 75% minus repairs, and probably sell it 77. I think that's realistic. At that point, by the time most of our buyers are buying this, by the time they know that this is the value we can prove right now based on our appraisal. Because you have to remember, we're also a hard money lender, so we're not going to put a deal out there and lend on it unless we know we're going to be able to have a successful exit. We have 0 foreclosures in Atlanta to date, okay? That's to tell you the kind of product that we put out.
But now you can tell them about other people, and I'm glad that you said no foreclosures. I had a lady call me 2 days ago, bought a house for $88,000. The person who sold it to her got a lender to loan her 50%, and then the house wasn't worth 30. So they're happy to take it back and resell it.
That's a great point. This is a topic that I can talk about for another 3 hours, to be honest with you. Lenders, you have to be careful. They're not necessarily lenders. They're not always looking out for your benefit. We just had a lady, we lent the money to her, but she was getting brokered this deal and she was getting charged 6 points. She didn't have the money at the time to buy this deal, but they were willing to lend it to her. We had to say no. We can't. So if you want to go ahead and buy it, go ahead. Deal with them. We're not going to sell it to you. What's going to happen? You barely had the money to put the skin up. Be careful, guys. There's a lot of people broker the money. And to Barry's point, this is a whole other topic, so I don't want to get into it. Be careful. Just watch yourself, because those guys are just guys that's really investors.
And that's the moral of the story. Be careful, newbies. Be careful. That's why we're here. That's why other seasoned investors are in this room, to help you along your way, keep you out of trouble. That's why I'm here. That's why Barry's here. That's why Manesh is here. That's why Roger and Don are here, and Russ Heiner, to help keep you out of trouble. When in doubt, ask. Ask.
Just
Okay, so you say you're a hard money lender too. So what would be a average or good interest and point rate for?
I think it's pretty common to see 10 to 14 is pretty common in Atlanta right now. You see points, I'd probably say 2 to 4, pretty standard,
So
depending on money level and experience.
So you think 10% interest at 4 points? Is that about?
Well,
I mean, there's so many variables I don't know to answer that question.
Did
but
you
it's in a
hear?
range.
Did you hear a few of the variables he mentioned? Your experience. How many of these have you done? If you're brand new and this is your first deal, you're going to be paying more, obviously, than somebody.
If you're brand new, I mean, that sounds like reasonable terms. You just have to, like I said, be careful. Can you afford what they're telling you need to put down? Because I'm saying is 0. I can tell, I can pitch people 0 out of pocket too, but realistically in today's market, unless they're bringing me the deal at 65% minus repairs, you're probably bringing money to the table.
Yep.
Or if they're bringing you a deal at 30% or 40%, I'll finance the whole thing. Happily.
Yeah.
And Manesh will too, right?
You guys are both lenders. Tell them what your rates are.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Let me
it does.
tell you something. Let me tell you what's more
20%.
important. It doesn't matter if I charge 18% and 8 points. It doesn't matter what somebody charges you. If you have a good deal, that's all that counts. I had somebody pay 18% and 10 points, and the guy made $100,000. What difference does it
They
make?
call him the Godfather for a
The
reason. He's a
point
loan
is,
shark.
you have to get the good deal. Getting a deal at 80% or 70% and having, and your contractor says 70 and it's 120. Because once he's got the 70 and he's only 40, 50, 60% completed, and he says it's another 50 grand, what are you going to do? Nothing. You're stuck. That's why a lot of properties are half fixed up.
Yep.
And you're going to buy them half fixed up.
So we're close to 9 o'clock. So you got to get any final questions from Manesh?
I'm going to just share something real quick with you guys and my personal experiences with wholesalers on the reverse side. Okay. I have bought 4 deals in this past year that were just catastrophes because I listened to my agent. Wholesaler was pushing. let's just say I lost a lot of money between a few deals. I had one guy say that he was going to get the lot, give me the plans to get this lot buildable, the other one subdivided, blah, blah, blah. Needless to say, 30 grand later, nothing happened. I am stuck with those. Woodbine is one of them. I'm rehabbing that right now.
So
If
you're
these
saying-
guys are being pushy,
Even as a seasoned investor, you too make mistakes?
oh yeah, absolutely.
You too lose money from time to time?
Oh yeah. If you haven't lost money in the business, you haven't done enough.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Right.
You're always learning.
You're always learning. So be careful. Don't be that wholesaler if you're going to be a wholesaler. I tell all my investors, I was like, look, whether you buy today or you buy tomorrow, get familiar with what you see on paper, what you see in real life. And when you feel comfortable, you'll know. I'm going to be able to sell the deals. The market's hot. I'm not worried about the buyers. But don't be that person. All you have in this business is your name. Keep that going. Keep that going, because that's all that matters, is your name. And as a wholesaler, don't put out these crappy numbers and just learn why a number needs to be a number. Just don't throw something out there. Have someone check you. Find somebody that can help you out. Find a full-time investor that has rehabs. Hey, I don't want anything else from you except I want to go see your rehabs. I want to learn what your numbers are. Do you mind? That's free education. Hey, what if you say, hey, I will go check on your material drops for you to make sure that your materials are there. I can go hand over the check for the guy. I can go learn that way. Free education. Hey, you said you worked for free for a while, Ron, right? You have to go work. You have to go put in your time. I think there's no better way to do it than to do it that way. All right?
You guys can team up and work together.
You won't believe this. I'd probably say 90% of people that walk through our doors want to be wholesalers, not want to be, want to be. I tell them, you can come on in, meet with one of our agents. If you run across leads here, you can go about, here's what you can do to go find some leads. I'm not going to babysit you, but here's what you can do. Now, once you find a lead, I will go walk the house with you and tell you this is the rehab, here's the value, and this is what we need it at. I will even help walk you through the contract. I'll pay this, whatever you can negotiate below that is your profit. I don't think it gets any more fair than that. And you know how many people actually do that? A very small percentage. Because once people realize you got to go and bust your ass to actually get these incoming leads, if they don't get any good ones in 3 months, they stop.
99% go.
99% fail, and that is not a lie. That's why I say it's almost easier to be a fix and flip investor. Coming from someone that does it full time, and I'm sure all these guys can tell you the same. Anyway, Dustin, you'd like to wrap up? We're good?
Any final questions before we wrap up?
Yes,
We
ma'am.
got one more.
Can you give us some tips on dealing with sellers in general in terms of negotiating?
I think in dealing with anybody in general, it has to be mutually beneficial. I think if you go into situations with sellers and you're just trying to look to steal something, they're gonna notice that. People have an energy about people they know. Be legit, be genuine with these people. Find out what their situation is. Get to learn their story, because at the end of the day, by you knowing their story, you'll know where they stand. So just deal with them in a straight up manner. Give them the respect they deserve. And I think more often than not, you get a lot more better return for that.
And just to give them a last bit of hope, I bought in East Cobb for 20 cents on the dollar after repair value.
So
that gives you hope that they're out there possibly.
there are deals out there, but the trick is you got to find them. You got to find them yourself through off-market properties. Otherwise, you got to buy them from another wholesaler. What you gonna do? Do your due diligence. So any closing remarks?
No, I think that's it. Just keep trying, keep working hard. Go out and find the deals organically yourself and find some good help.
Well, hey, real quick, why don't you give a little commercial for your
For Network Realty.
Network Realty real quick.
I'm not much of a self-promotion individual, but we are a wholesale brokerage, like
That's
you
why I'm
mentioned.
making you do it.
And we are also a hard money lender. And so we've been in the game for quite some time. We're quite reputable. We can get you some guys some good deals, but it doesn't stop by people buying from us. It's a lot more work. We actually help you throughout the whole process till it's gone. So if you have investors or you are investors, come see us.
Yep. So introduce them to your boys you
Oh,
have
yeah.
here tonight.
So we have Tim Green, Tim Green, Reginald Lewis, Justin Nemi's actually on his first day. Welcome him to the real estate investment world. And we have Matthew Von Dundalo. And Christian Johnson over there.
Welcome, guys. I see a lot of these guys around that come to a lot of our meetings, just so you know.
Good.
They're always out promoting you guys, doing a good job. So we appreciate you guys showing your support for our organization as well and doing your best to help our members. We really appreciate it. So thank you guys as well. So let's give it up for Manesh for being here tonight.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
All right, for everybody on Facebook, we appreciate you being here tonight. I'm going to kill the feed. Thank you so much.